Okay. And hi, everybody. This is Glenn Lyvers with Prolific Press. And this is the July poetry reading. Thank you all for coming. And I'm going to start off by reading this poem that I did. I don't always read, but I decided to do this one. Can you guys see that? Okay, so the reason that I chose this particular poem is because while I was doing a mentoring session this week, someone asked me what I mean by, sort of taking on the persona. And what I like to do is just get quiet and imagine a story that I am someone, somewhere, under certain circumstances, and then write a poem from that other speaker's perspective. I won't, this isn't the place for mentoring, but that's where this came from. So I'm doing this one for somebody that I hope will come back and watch it. This is called Leaving Mother Chechnya. My wife's arms ached the night after the orphanage turned us down. No ties to our culture, no way for the baby to learn the ways of Mother Chechnya. The orphaned girl with the scars may die, probably is the Chechen translation. And my wife sobs, rubbing her pale belly, becoming an inconsolable, quavering heap on the sterile bathroom floor, her womb a starving mouth waiting to be fed. And she tells me she can feel it now, rolling like an empty stomach, vacuous in a way I can never fill, withering by the hour, waiting for our plane. Every foreign second feels like falling. Okay, so we're going to kick off with Lynette Esposito. And then after that, we'll go to Jamia. Hi, Lynette, can you unmute yourself?
I did. I had trouble hitting the right button. I don't know what's wrong with me in technology, but sometimes we're incompatible. Let's put it that way. I've got a couple short poems. I'm reading from Laurel, New Jersey. And I went short because I thought I would give people more time. It's called Lost in the Woods. I hear a wind in the forest trees that sings a lyric of ancient things. I listen as if I have heard it 1,000 times before and wait for it to stop in its long, long tale of yore and begin again. That's the ending.
Very nice.
And then I was working with a little mythology stuff, and I'm still working on this poem. I don't think it's quite right yet, but it's pretty close. It's called Pandora's Toy Box. I kind of like that title. I just can't help it. Sometimes things make me laugh. Imagine Pandora having a toy box. I wonder if coffins are made the way toy boxes are hammered, nails and glue the same. If preserved bones are Pandora's delight, as she toys with souls set free from their fleshy shell. If what you put in the coffin is just a broken doll that can't be fixed by hammer and glue, I wonder if the box is freedom's paradox.
Nice. You could really feel the line breaks where you put those, and the compression was so nice on that poem. Certainly not your first draft, I don't think you're.
No, I keep going and going. I'm never happy.
Yeah, it's one of those never finished, merely abandoned situations. Jamia. Jamia, can you hear me? Are you ready?
You looking for me?
Yes, yes, we're ready for you.
You were referring to Jamia, and I never heard of him.
Oh, James, that's what it says on your
It says James.
account.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, it does say that on your account.
I have no idea how that happened.
Yeah, I mean, I know your name, but different people, they have different ideas and pen names and stuff.
Who
So
knows? Who knows?
I didn't want to blow your cover.
No, well, whatever.
All
It's
right,
a
go ahead.
typo. It's a typo because the A key is near the S key.
There you go, James. All right, well,
I
we'll get
see.
that.
That's my typo. That's my typo. I'll fix it.
All right.
Not right now. I have two poems. They're kind of related, although they're separated by about 6 months apart in their composition. So this first one is entitled Tense, Tense. The trouble with the present, according to Billy Collins, is that it's always in a state of vanishing. Take the second it takes to end this sentence with a period. Already gone. Past, present, future are all tenses. Tight strings we tie around those Descartian odd boxes we build. Even poets feel strained amid the struggle to untie the knots in the shoestrings that hold our stumbling feet together. And this one opens with a reference to an old Genesis album, for those of you who are old enough. Lamb Lies Down Broadway, as I recall. It opens with this line: carpet crawlers heed their callers. You got to get in to get out. The poem is called Wilding. The wildness of life cannot be tamed by our attempt to control it through words and naming. These words, then, are a razor's edge, attempting to carve out a contradiction. Seeing is believing because we believe first and then see. There was a time before believing when, in our beginner's mind, we stood at the edge of bewilderment, experiencing the wildness of life as a moment by moment instant filled with infinite possibility and awesome wonder. Thank you.
Thank you for that. It's one of those that you probably revisit many times. It's a nice thinking poem. Very nice. Okay. Linda.
Hi, everybody. I tried something. I'm sorry I'm lopsided this time. I tried something different. I'm sitting in a new place. I promise I'll be upright next time, so you guys don't think I've been drinking or anything. I'm going to read two poems from my book, Red is the Sunrise. This is a book that I wrote. I was invited to do a poetry reading in front of 125 red hat ladies about 3 years ago at the Kansas State Fair. And I pulled all the poems about women that I had at that time and put them in this book. So that's what this is. First one is called A Train to Somewhere. I remember my grandparents' enclosed porch, their Boston Terriers nipping at my heels as I entered the yard. I enjoyed the reminiscences repeated at each visit. I reveled in the laughter that ensued after each anecdote about my childhood was concluded. The story I remember most today is the one about my lone field trip at the age of 3 to the neighborhood railroad tracks. Little me found by frantic people and returned home safely. In later years, my grandmother, Alzheimer ridden, was found wandering those same railroad tracks by equally frantic people. I've wondered since if we were looking for the same thing. And then the second one is called A Backyard Incident in St. Louis. My mother checks the yard for my brother every night by flashlight, forgetting he drowned. She's so certain he'll be found. My father took the blow-up pool to the dump 6 months ago. Only 5 inches of clear water, along with the grass clippings that fell off the soles of our feet. Birds and butterflies lined against yellow and blue rubber. A green garden hose sending joy and tragedy through the same tube. And each night the crickets are no guide and the fireflies unveil no hiding places. And all her calling in the world will never flip the switch back to bright. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That was really nice. Denise.
Hi, thank you. I'm reading from Boston. I wanted to read one shorter poem and one longer poem. They completely unrelated. The first is called The Final Lament. And I mentioned a melody called Shardas, which is a Hungarian folk dance melody with Jewish Eastern European roots. Strains of Shardas weave into the shawl of silence that surrounds us. As my son's bow moves over violin strings, each chord unravels, threads, shreds of Jewish loss, each note folded into the fabric of our past. All that matters this moment, intertwined in the tassels of history. As the andante ends, a frail lament echoes, and the final note lingers, still for Papa. Thank you. And this one is, called Lesotho. These were both published in Poetry Quarterly at different times. This was from quite a few years ago. A donga gapes at us, a deep ravine where earth exhausted crumpled into itself, the hint of a sneer along its wide lips. Air droops with heat, dust, silence, as I lay another brick listening for sliding tools, buzzing and clicking of cicadas in sun-scorched grass, voices, muted and weary, dryness in every word. Yet I am sated by beauty. Ochre hills rise, dip, swell, crimp into folds gentle and uneven as blankets that fall from shoulders of Basotho men and women in tones of earth and sky. Where our world drops away, in a blue haze, I hear thunder, a rhythmic throb, louder and closer with each pulse, a ripple rises over a crest. Then figures appear, as if inserted by a painter's brush onto the bare landscape. Men's voices harmonize to the beat of high drums. Gourd shakers add rain to thin wisps of reed flutes, the twang of bamboo mouth harps, the swell of an accordion, its cardboard sides pleating in and out. A small boy, his limbs frail as felt grasses, dances along behind, shifting with the nimble poise of a dik-dik. As blankets and conical hats flow, the men beckon to us and we dance with them, laughing, exulting in the music and the boy's bored smile. Too soon, one man speaks in melodic Sesotho, the others nod and wave, then continue on their way, undulating with the rhythm and shimmer of the hills. The boy lingers a moment, then runs on. I watch him disappear, resurface over a rise until he is swallowed by the valley, gone, erased on an artist's whim. I am parched as if a burst of rain drenched the earth, then as abruptly abated, leaving me thirsting, listening. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thanks so much.
That was good. I'm sure I'll be coming back to hear that again. That was wow. Good finish too. Mary Gunn. Mary, you have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Can
hear
you
you.
hear me now?
Yep.
Thanks, Glenn, and hello to everyone. I'd like to read two poems, a Tanka and a Senru. The Tanka is about a pilgrimage mountain in the west of Ireland called Crowpatrick. It's traditionally climbed on the last Sunday in July, so last Sunday would have been the day that people would normally do that. It's along the west coast overlooking the Atlantic Ocean, what some people might describe as the Wild Atlantic Way. It's spelled, if anybody wants to Google it afterwards, the first word is spelled Croagh, and then the second word is Patrick. So this is it. Crowpatrick. Starting the climb in darkness, we reached the peak, feeling cold and tired, yet uplifted. That was published in Blithe Spirit, a UK print journal. My second one is a Senru, and it goes like this. Long weekend. The cat and I both sleep late. That was first published in a British journal called Hedgerow, and it was later republished on Never Ending Story. That's my two. Thank you.
Thank you. I know you can't see us, but everyone is very happy with those. Thank you very much for that.
Oh, thank you for the waves.
James, you're going to be after me. I'm going to read one more, and then we'll go ahead and continue. I don't usually read very much, but we have fewer people here today, and sometimes I get a little flack for not doing it, so I'm going to do that. This particular piece is a story poem, and we can share. Can you guys see it? Years ago, many years ago, I did this little chapbook called Trinkets. It's a little story poem from that. It's called The Bricklayer. And it's just fun to go back, isn't it? To go back and look at your work from many years back and think how well you've improved. And sometimes just revisiting your work, it's just nice to do that. This is called The Bricklayer. Gianna Perugino brushed his daughter's tangled hair so roughly her eyes welled up with tears. Then he kissed her and pushed her out the door to play. Gianni laid bricks that day, the way he had for years, with cracked clay hands moving automatically, almost magically. And he slung the bricks with perfect rhythm until he was called home. Johnny saw a crowd gathering as he arrived, and he saw the pieces of his life scattered in the intersection just past the stop sign. His little girl lay in the street, here and there. She was struck by a Venice brand milk truck that sucked her into the wheel well and then spit her out. Johnny gathered his daughter into a little red pile in the way only a bricklayer could, and she filled his arms like cordwood. He sat in the street rocking and singing a broken song no one could understand while the police drank coffee and looked on. A man from the milk factory scowled. How long will we allow this trawler to rock? My truck is covered in blood and the milk will clot. And the police said, we're paid by the hour. And when the sun went down, they turned on their headlights and took turns keeping the curious crowd quiet. Until Johnny eventually stopped singing, and the firemen, with their red hoses, rinsed the street, and a pale procession piled flowers by his mailbox. After that day, nobody asked whose fault it was, or what song he sang, or whether the milk spoiled, or when people saw Johnny, they stepped away from the curb. He never went back to laying bricks. He never drank milk again, or sang again, or cried again. Johnny spent the rest of his life as a horse groomer, gently stroking their tangled hair. Thank you. Appreciate that. Story poems give you so much flexibility to just do something. All right, James Nicola.
Yes, you can hear me, everybody?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Good, wonderful. Well, I had two prepared, and then I changed the second one because Lynette did one about Pandora's Box. So I have one called Pandora's Box. It was published a few years ago. So in honor of her, I've changed the second one I'm going to do. But this first one is going to be published in an anthology called Milagros, which some of you may have heard about by the Bourne Public Library publishing it, and D. Ellis Phelps is the editor. And it's called Orchards. These two poems happen to be about the same thing, ironically, but from a different point of view. Orchards. I've been to nowhere, smelled the orchards grow there, all varieties of fruit and thought I couldn't see, but felt that I could know, could taste. Witnessed developments from blossom to bud to pip to pulp. And I did not leave prematurely, though I was not sure precisely where I was, except a pure terrain expressly laid in rows to draw some unsuspicious youth or traveler into a danger, like the Sphinx's riddle. And whom did she, with all her threats, deter? No one remembered. I ran to the middle of the orchard and up and down the lanes again and again, got caught in sudden rains, ate of the fruit, forbidden or not, and grew, I guess. When I came back, I think I knew I'd been nowhere, substantial as a dream. But dreams, given the right interpreter, might save an empire as they can redeem a wastrel. It's late afternoon. It's fall. If you know riddles, you are right. I can still walk on two legs like the answer, man. But to this day, do not know where I went. Have no idea what the orchard meant. Just that whenever I pass fields of trees or crops in rows in any season, spring especially, I weaken at the knees a moment. Then, restored, run up and down the matrix. And when I am back in town, my shoes a little dirty and my nose still tingling with the flavors of the rose, I seem to be a little more at ease and less recalcitrant to hum or sing. It's nothing, but it might be everything. Anyway, that's going to be in Milagros. And speaking of miracles, I did go up Croagh Patrick when I was in Ireland. So that's to Mary Gunn, who's I'm usually right after in these meetings. And unfortunately, it was all hazy when I was up there, so I didn't see that it was near the ocean. And then as soon as I came down, of course, the sun came out. Same thing happened at the Cliffs of Moser. This one is called Pandora's Box, and it was published a few years ago in something called Edify Fiction, and it's a true story. Pandora's Box. Some Christmases ago, a dear friend gave me tiles of words for the refrigerator, mini magnets, which I still save in their box for later. Other friends lined their magnets up like scores to scan while cooking, breaking up the white of their refrigerator doors, otherwise too bright. Some parents let their growing children play with theirs and make up parts of sentences like a game to pass a rainy day. I've heard what fun it is, but right already, letting my box sit, still sealed in cellophane and colored string, fearing, were I to open it, the change of everything. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you, James. Some real musicality in places there also. That's very nice. All right, John McMullen.
Okay. Okay, this is the first this is the most recent poem.
Oh, I'm so sorry, John. I muted you, buddy. Can you start over? Can you unmute yourself? Hey, John.
Yep.
I'm
I got
sorry.
it.
I muted. There you go.
Okay, this is the most recent poem that I wrote, and that's my dog in the background. Death walks in, and we thought that it was over, But now we find that it's not by a long shot. The Boston Globe headlines, COVID-19 surges back in Massachusetts. In my county in New York, active COVID cases tripled in 3 weeks. In Los Angeles, mask mandates are returning. The Department of Justice rules that businesses and government agencies may require vaccinations. Mississippi and Missouri lead the nation in surges, but it's their own fault. Vaccination rate nationally under 50%. New York City and California mandate vaccinations for health workers and government workers. Some NFL players say they will quit rather than vaccinate. The league says, see ya. And here we are, over. As the great philosopher L.P. Barrett said years ago, it ain't over till it's over. And then I went back to the first poem I ever had published. The first won a contest, and then I believe it was the first poem that I published in Inwood, Indiana, back in 2008. Cashing a check. I just saw this wonderful line in a column in a motorcycle magazine. The mind writes checks that the body can't cash. The vision that many from the old neighborhood have of me is short and thin, with a Pepsi in one hand and a cigarette in the other. Others will remember me as taller and thin, hitting a jumper from the corner or throwing a no-look pass to a cutter. Others will picture me at the end of the bar in the Broadstone with an open pack of Paul Malls and a half-finished beer in a bar. Don Gibson, I Can't Stop Loving You on the jukebox. Pat, one more when you get a chance. Age has taken the jumper. Diabetes has taken the Pepsi. Common sense has taken the cigarette and the booze. I am older and wiser and hopefully more tolerant. I am satisfied with my life, but to just be able once more, fake the man guarding me and go up in the air with a jumper and get nothing but net. To be able once more to cash that check. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I can't remember who said this recently. I was reading some, I often go to other journals, and I think it was either Blackbird or Plowshares, but one of the editors over there was saying that poets have a responsibility to write about the age in which they live, because people will consult poetry to gather the hearts and minds of the people of that era in ways that history books will never record. And in that light, appreciate the COVID poem, although we do try to stay away from politics and stuff, but I think you did that very well. You just wrote about it, and it's just great. I thought you did a good job. Robert Whalen.
Hello. I haven't been up Mary Gunn's mountain, but I have been up Sugarloaf and Wicklow. So
I'm jealous. All you guys are getting to go to great places.
and Denise in Boston, I'm reading from Rockport, and you may know where that is, up by Gloucester. So this one's called My World Keeps Getting Smaller. My world keeps getting smaller. Edges disappearing into darkness. Streets where I grew up are barren of all the stores I knew, no longer filled with landmarks or the children who stood calling for others at the base of back stairs that ascended vanished tenement houses. Winds blow the friends away like dust from empty lots. Rivers of time-worn crowds of pebbles into smooth stones that leap thrown across the water until their course runs out, to drop beneath the surface, remembered only by ripples left behind. Then those circles too fade into a flowing, the stillness of reflected sky, where passing clouds accept their destination. And seeing as we're being Irish today, this is from a plane trip back from Ireland, where a few seats ahead of me, a woman was arguing, well, she wasn't arguing, he was arguing with her that he was in the right seat, and he was a real jerk. And I realized that if she convinced him, she was going to sit in that seat and he was going to sit next to me. So in order to preempt that, I just said, why don't you come on back? And so this is that plane trip called Lost Connection. Travelers have different freedoms. Conversations can be more truthful, perhaps. The someones you meet may be no one's, or will likely never be someone's again. Words shared are the scripts of an adventure without burden, for there is no need to carry on. It began as notable things sometimes do with simple serendipity, a misread ticket held by an adamant pilgrim who, by occupying your place, had you fill the empty space beside me. And so we embarked. A journey once measured in months today would be measured in hours, yet still would cover lifetimes. Above the clouds we talked as if we were observing angels, considering events tethered to the earth. The turmoil of family, the transience of lovers, the various expectations of men and women, the measured treasure of attachment, deciding when to stay and when to go, devoid of pretense, without agendas, free of the need to gain or the fear of loss. And then we touched down. Walking down the hallway towards the exit, your hand on my sleeve was not quite a surprise as you pulled me closer to you. No one noticed a lingering embrace, a loving caress, a gentle kiss. Airports are full of encounters. They are temples of the constant emotions of hellos and goodbyes. Words were no longer necessary. You turned to reclaim your baggage, and I left to find my connection. Thank you.
That's really good. I love that image, just reflecting on the idea that, while we're on a plane and we're going somewhere, it just forget how special that is, how like magic it would have been to people not very long ago,
Yeah, some of those journeys, the people that left didn't arrive, and some arrived while they were on the journey because there were births there. So it's a whole different idea. It really is.
I'm just going to pause for one moment to let someone in. Thank you, Michael, for coming today.
Gotta leave
My
you now.
apologies, I'm running very late, but certainly wanted to check in, see how everybody's doing.
Well, we're here. Thank you for coming. Dennis Mosby.
Hello.
Hi,
I've
Dennis.
got two presentations, but they're all summer poems. The first one is a series of summer-linked haiku. Night full of crickets, black sentinels send reports in leg song Morse code. A hammock man naps, bees wing tremble on his cheeks. aftershave sozzled. A cold shandy beer, sugar-curious bee sips from the bottle lip. Chickens scratch red dirt, white sheets snap in the wind, coyote waiting. Dawn diamonds the lake, dog and I jog paw-soft paths, legs in 2/4 time. The second is a place that Glenn should also visit, Assateague Chincoteague Islands off of the coast of Virginia. Maybe you've already been there, Glenn.
I have been there. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, this is entitled Assateague Island Jog. Wooden bridge planks drum to my jogger's rhythm. Nikes flash left, right on spotted asphalt. From the roadsides, white salt marsh orchids stretch fingers into plant-choked brown tidewater. Insects dance on its surface. Egrets stand one-legged, snake legs cocked. Beneath, distorted images. Turtles nap, nose bubbles rise. Blue crabs, stalk eyes, stare. Tall seagrass studded dunes drink my climbing sweat. Legs drag through beach sand. Breathe, breathe, breathe. I enter a watercolor of yellow mounds and gray tidewood sculptures. Waves churn green tidal foam. Bleached wool blanket clouds rag purple sky and ocean. In harmony, my heart's salt blood rushes in and out. A lone bikini, 2 red swatches over tan curves, 1 raised knee against amber sand, against feathered ocean, pierced by dolphin wheels.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful place. We are gonna let one more person sneak in here. Hi, Carol. Hi. Okay. Because Carol has the best smile in town, I'll tell you that. Okay, we're gonna move on here to Samantha Terrell.
Hi, everybody. So a couple people are sneaking in and I'm going to sneak out after this, Glenn, because I have a family obligation. But today I'm going to read a couple of poems that were inspired both by, I guess, kind of like celebrity inspired, which isn't like my normal genre of writing. But the first one is called Dreaming What Is. It was recently published online in the Antonym. And the celebrity inspiration was Annie Dillard, specifically a picture of Annie Dillard that I saw in a magazine. Dreaming What Is. I never knew you, but I miss your ashtray and coffee cup set haphazardly amongst countertop clutter. The smoke-tinged tapestry hanging behind you in a familiar place where you've researched and written and dreamt of what is, regardless of what was or what could be. I hear Handel's Water music playing dimly on an AM/FM radio, the kind that plugs into a wall and never imagined begging cooperation from Wi-Fi deities, playlist subscriptions, or Bluetooth speaker devices. I never knew you, but I think you're here somewhere amongst my countertop clutter, hanging around behind me, in that familiar place where we can read and write and be. Thank you. And then the second one, the celebrity inspiration, again, for this one was Leonard Cohen. And it was previously published on Fevers of the Mind. It's called Earning Grace. Excuse me. Mulch-covered footpaths laid out through black-green woods beckon, demanding a penance, time. Feet pad heavily, left, right, pushing forward through space, setting a pace, unmatched by the mind. The path, a tether now, is pulling out of sync. Anxiety wants a breeze, but it won't take it. Still, music is in the trees, waiting for you to earn your hallelujah. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, wow. I just love the way you started that. You said enough to put us there, but not too much, so we could really import every walk in the woods we've ever taken. It's just wonderful. Very,
Thank
very
you
well
so
done.
much. Thank you.
I really enjoyed that. Clarice Samuels.
Okay, I'm on now.
Yes.
Okay, I'm reading from Hudson, Quebec, which is a little town about 45 minutes out of Montreal. I'm just going to read two short poems. I guess you could call them modern haiku, or maybe what Glenn would call 3-line poems. And they're part of a chapbook called Chinatown, which I have not published yet, but I'm thinking about it. Anyway, they're just, as I said, two short 3-line poems. So the first one is a reference to the Greek goddess Artemis, who was the goddess of the hunt. So starting the first poem, you hunted for sport and aimed for me. Poor fool, I was Artemis. That's for anybody who tries to attack me. The second poem, pressed against the wall, danger approaches, high winds, wild horses. Thank you.
Very nice. Hey, you did a great job on those. You know, I'm
Thank
all
you.
about those short forms and the compression and no wasted
Yeah.
words. They're very, very
To
nice.
make a point in 20 words or less, it's a challenge.
Yeah. I think that I can't remember which poet said it, but there's this really kind of funny saying, I would have written a short poem, but I didn't have the time. Right? Because sometimes it's harder to write the short ones than it is to write the longer ones.
Exactly.
Edward Ahern.
Okay, I can share screen, I think.
Mhm.
This poem has the distinction of being one of my more recent ones, and I wasn't going to read it, but then it got sort of accepted this morning. The Seventh Quarry said they liked it, they wanted to publish it, but they wouldn't publish it until next July, which is kind of the pregnancy of an elephant. But I debated, but I finally said yes. So here it is, and it will not be birthed until for another year. Sensual living. To my eyes, light is or is not. My ears hear or don't hear you. I can or can't smell sweetness or rot. I am touched or not touched. Taste is missing or savored. But river eagles see through water. Bad ears sense moth wings. A distant vulture smells the dead. A monarch drinks just milkweed. And cat whiskers graze the unknown. Science tells us light has speed, but does it slow as it curves? At how few parts per million does infinitesimal odor become the undetectable? Can we ever hear the world breathing? To failingly understand these things, my senses are kidnapped into thoughts, unfelt, unsmelled, unseen, unheard, and tasteless, and well beyond my grasp. I accept science on faith. And the second one is also a haiku. I don't write a lot of them, but I'm kind of fond of this one. It's a little downbeat, so bear with it. We carry our knives as protection against hope and stab the future.
Very nice. Thank you. Both of those were very strong. I'm gonna just let someone sneak in here. Shasta Hatter hopped in. I'm really glad when people come a little bit later. That's fine. I'd rather the people come in. Plus, I gave less notice this time too. So you're very, very welcome. Thanks for coming. Okay. Just want to make sure. David Harris, can you unmute yourself, David?
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. The first one, the title is a kind of a reference to Edith Piaf, for those of you who are old enough to remember her. Non, je ne regrette tout. So long it took me to learn the pains I caused. So long I forgot too many of them. But sometimes, if you watch me driving or before the TV, my face twists for an instant, and you can know. I have remembered a moment I can never forgive myself. Lost in time or just forgetfulness. Even Google cannot find my victims. Forward my apologies. I've buried my offenses, but they stabbed me from their graves with grimaces of memory that I cannot bear to grasp and heal. My list of failures only grows with age. I only hope that I can slow its growth. And this is about a political figure, but far enough in the past that I don't think it's a political poem. Romulus Augustulus. He never really wanted to be emperor, but his father was ambitious, pulled the strings, and led the coup. 15, and head of an empire that had ruled the world for half a millennium, or so it claimed, and his father claimed. 10 months later, his father dead, Romulus retired from public life and from history, unloved by his former people, unmissed by them, exiled to the old home of Lucullus. Perhaps he ate well there, perhaps not. What does a young ex-emperor do? What ambitions, what dreams? After the brief glory, perhaps he read the years away, learning the lives of his illustrious predecessors, or took up art or music or depravity. In one story, he went to Cornwall and sired a son on fair Igraine. Lovely, but untrue, at least unlikely. Reduced to insignificance, his death unremarked, his legacy nothing, but a name and a place at the end of a long list. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I would say that's far enough in the past. I think you get away with that one, David. That's nice. Hey, Jenny. Virginia Watts says her pen name.
Those darn pen names. Yeah, I have two. I'm going to read a new poem and one that's really, really old, sort of a vintage one, but I'll go with new first. The title of this is The Big Show. Bodies packed like sardines inside a striped circus tent. It stinks in there, sweat, cigars, and an inadequate hole at the top. Those days before fire codes and animal cruelty laws, lions leaping through flames, licking rings, while outside on the midway, popcorn is firing like gentle bullets. Standing by a brightly painted billboard, a mustached man raises a candy apple red microphone to parted lips. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Prepare to be shocked. Prepare to be astounded. A once-in-a-lifetime experience you shall never forget. Welcome to the Freak Show. The creep show at the freak show. It's only one measly dime to come inside. Come meet the lobster family. General Tom Thumb, the four-legged lady, the lion-faced man. Prepare to be shocked. Prepare to be thrilled. Midgets, giants, albinos galore. How we raise up our innocence as our excuse. You know what I'm talking about. The force of the down-flowing stream you cannonballed yourself into. Out of mercy, out of passion, out of the goodness inside your heart. Reruns of The Hoarders airing now on A&E television. Step right up. Welcome to the freak show, the creep show at the freak show.
Thank you for that.
This was an old one. I've read this before, and somehow when I run into people that heard me, they always say, "Oh, you're the girl that read the Chompers poem." So here it is again. It's called A Letter to That Guy. I see on Facebook that you changed your teeth. Hey, I liked you when your teeth were gnarled. A rodent who needed a good orthodontist. It wasn't me who said that, by the way. A mouse, maybe, but never a rat. You were too handsome. A real dream date, dreamboat, babe magnet. Maybe the chompers your parents gave you have always bothered you. Maybe now every morning when you get out of bed and plod to your toilet, the new pearly whites in the vanity mirror feel like a celebration. I hope so, and also, I wish you had never asked me to that prom. I should have laughed in your face and went with a guy who was really into me. A guy who spotted me strolling the pool deck. Holy shit, who is that with the Chris Everett tennis racket? A guy who drove by my house endless hours of endless nights just to be sure my bedroom light was still shining. Someone who stared at the other guys I dated with a dumped truckload of self-pity. I should have refused to step foot inside a cheap motel behind a junk heap of an auto repair shop, a room that reeked of motor oil and inexplicably hot apple pie. I should have kicked you in the balls when you invited your friend from the room next door to come on in and have a look at my chest. And then I should have kicked him in the balls, but hold on here. Let me be clear, I am not blaming you. You were decent for your age and level of intoxication, and I had a lot of learning to do. I am only writing to you after all these years to tell you one solitary thing. I really miss your old teeth. Thank you.
You were decent for your years and level of intoxication. Oh, that's a great line. I love the measly dime in the first one. For a measly dime, we all do that when we're trying to to get somebody to buy something. I am not immune. Years ago, when I went door to door for the environment, gosh, I did that for years. We try to get people to kick in $5, and we would say, it's the cost of a Big Mac, right? I mean, for the environment. And it was just, this diminishing the measly dime. I think today's equivalent would be that after you submit to one of our submission managers, we ask if you're interested, it's not obligated, but if you're interested to kick in $3 for the coffee, buy a cup of coffee. And just straight up, we use the money for coffee. It really goes to the coffee. All right. I don't know why that tickled me. It's just that measly thing. Patrice Wilson.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, it's your second time. We're happy to have you.
Yeah, I'm in Mililani, Hawaii. It's interesting that I think James, the first James, referred to Billy Collins in one of his poems. Years ago, I started reading him, and I liked his poetry very much, as most people do. So these I read the first poem I read. I think it was about 3 blind mice. Really stuck in my head.
Yeah.
So this is a totally different situation, but I think the last portion smacks of that kind of sentiment. This is called Having Your Cake. Firmly placed in my apartment in Honolulu, I sit at my small outcropping of shelf between the kitchen and the hallway to the front door, eating a piece of 59th birthday cake, wondering why I can't have it and eat it too. This old British maxim that challenges the illogic of not possessing and yet consuming at the same time. That also sounds as if it could be part of a blues song. You can't have your cake and eat it too, baby. No, can't have your cake and eat it too. But you sure gotta have it before you can eat it. So come on back home to me, mama. Come on back home to me. And then a profound sadness insinuates itself into my heart, whose softer parts worry about a picture I have in my head of some nicely sliced piece of cake alone someplace, in the middle of nowhere maybe, not being had and not being eaten by anyone.
That was good. You know that those little extensions that you add to your lines remind me of the way Whitman has those long lines with a comma and then just a little detail, and there's a comma and there's a little detail. It is really neat. Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm rereading Whitman right now, his Leaves of Grass book. Oh boy. There it is. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, go ahead to the next one.
Okay, this is called the cheese, and I don't know if anybody ever played this game in their backyard besides me, but it was called the Farmer in the Dell. And everybody would make a circle, and the person in the middle would be the farmer, and he would choose, or she would choose the wife would choose the child, and so on, until the cheese. And the cheese stood alone, and everybody clapped over their head, the cheese stands alone. And it was kind of intimidating if you were the cheese. So anyway, this is about that, and it's kind of after Billy Collins style as well. The cheese. Everyone else has someone. The farmer takes a wife, no doubt with yellow barrettes, a white apron, and sensible shoes. The wife takes the child, perhaps the brown-haired, green-eyed boy of her dotage. The child takes a nurse, probably in black, with a white pinafore and cap. But the cheese stands alone, as I did in my kitchen in Honolulu the other day, remembering, thinking, no, that isn't right. The cheese should commune with other dairy products. Butter, sour cream, yogurt, yes, even margarine. And then something very different should be invited in. A hunk of meat, a sack of red potatoes, a juicy watermelon, to teach the cheese what it's like to be a non-dairy product. But no, the cheese was singled out, like that poor bearded lady at the circus, to be scrutinized and taunted, and then to disappear into the house, into her solitary room in the post-war New Jersey suburbs. Unless you are the cheese, you never think about this. It took me some 50 years to ponder the question, living alone thousands of miles away from the scene of the crime.
Wow, that was Billy Collins-esque, wasn't it? I love the movement from one place to another, and then the surprise of the dairy products, and that's great. Very, very well done. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Marjorie Greenberg. You have to unmute yourself.
Hi, this is my first time here.
Yay, welcome.
Thank you. Frankly, I didn't realize I was going to be reading. I've been working on a few haiku, and I also have what I would call a rather silly poem. So I'll start with the silly poem. And if you survive that and you want more, well, I could do a haiku or two.
Okay.
Thank you also, Glenn, for all you do.
Oh, thanks a lot.
The name of this poem is I Know a Woman. She's a grammarian, or is it a grammatician? She knows her nouns, split infinitives, dangling participles, and more. I'll bet she parsed sentences to oblivion in elementary school. She's an adult now. Her usage is impeccable. One sunny day, chatting with her on a park bench, without any warning or provocation, she threw a gerund at me. I was knocked over. Nightly, I dream I'm trapped in a windowless corridor, chased by Satan's fragments, searching for their subjects. And that's my silly poem. And I've been working on a few haiku, and so I will try a few out on you. A pile of turtles sunning on a river log, eons great scions. That's one. Then
Thank you. It's your first reading today, so let's hear one more.
oh, I don't want to take up extra time.
No, let's hear it. I want to. That was really good. Let's one more, if you don't mind.
No, I don't. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Flashing chorus lines of new leaves celebrate Earth's unfailing journey.
That's nice. That is really nice. I love that. That. I mean, it really sets the season, and its compression is just right. The key go is there. Very nice. All right. Well, I hope we see you many, many times in the future. Please keep coming back.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed your work. Okay, Salvatore. I'm not going to use your last name because I think you might be the only Salvatore
here
at the moment. Yes.
Happy to be here. Right now, I am in a town called Port Byron, Illinois. It's about 180 miles west of Chicago, near the Quad Cities and right on the Mississippi River. I'm going to read two short poems, mostly are short, that are going to be upcoming in my next book. It's going to be fall. I know that much for sure, but publisher keeps, things keep happening. From Ice Cube Press in Iowa City. And the title book is called Sneezing Coyotes. And I could share screen these.
Sure.
Okay. Did it come up?
Yeah.
Okay. Since we're all in this age group, I think we all remember the song, or know who Father Mackenzie was in a Beatles song. So, became Father Mackenzie. Epigraph. Father Mackenzie, writing words of a sermon that nobody will hear. Lennon and McCarthy. The phone speaker, set loud, projects a repeating electronic da-loop, da-loop, da-loop. A swipe on the red to decline, green to answer, or let the noise stop on its own. How or if my fingers move depends if I have the guts, the energy to speak to a human, something I don't do every day. Became comfortable not to. While I write poems, no one reads. And this one is titled Use, Put Aside. Actually started this thing in Iowa City, 15, 16 years ago, looking at an artist and his drawings. And I motto a couple times for art class, so I kind of put two things together. Used, put aside. Lead from artist pencils, elevate and thicken thighs, turning the news contour in black on oatmeal paper. Faint rubby sounds circulates the studio where I pose on a platform. My rigid muscles beg massaging, itching skin unscratched for 3 hours. Artists pack pencils in pouches, inner sketches and portfolios, who unpack at home, open photos on phones they took of me. When drawings feel finished, I lie in piles of news and portraits of forgotten drawings. I also cannot hear anything right now.
I'm sorry, that's me.
Okay.
I was saying that the middle of that poem was particularly strong. And I asked if you could please stop the file sharing. Push the
Stop.
end. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Only because I don't know how I should have a way from my end to be able to stop that, but I don't know enough about how to use this thing, I guess. I'm getting better every time, but I still make mistakes, I think. Lee Hespeth.
Glenn, if you go up to the top of the page when it's file sharing, you'll see right at the top, get rid of it.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Hi, Glenn and everyone. My first time attending this group, so thank you for the invite.
Welcome, Lee. We hope that you continue to come back. It's a good group. It's a little smaller today than usual, but
it's been really inspiring. Great work by everyone. This poem is entitled, I'll just read one poem.
Okay.
It's entitled Warehouse of Dreams. The grocery warehouse smells of sundries, cardboard and tobacco, rising, rising, rising on pallets and shelves, waiting for deliverance, just as we were. Idle chatter floats above the machinery's din, elders pontificating, youngsters skeptical, yawning behind hands. The cigarette tax stamping machine cluck, cluck, clanks along, mindlessly devouring an endless supply of cartons. We were innocent at the time. Streets of plenty in this small rural town. Some are paved, some are dirt, winding their way to unkempt graveyards, right up to the very edge of unimaginable mortality, colliding with the golden, carefree, insect buzzing summer day. Abandoned homes collapsing down into the weeds and scrub, anxious to win. No condominiums here. Small creeks full of fishing holes, passageways to yesterday, smells and old photographs beckon me back. Summer after ever shortening summer.
Wow. That was really good, Lee. Thank you. I'm so glad you came today.
Thank you so much.
That's exceptional. He really took us places, didn't he? That was nice.
Thank you.
Gerald Narland. Hi, Gerald. You have to unmute yourself.
Well, thanks for having this, Glenn. This is great. It's good to be back. Start out this time with a picture postcard from out here in flyover country. It's titled Iowa August. Dust hangs on the hot sunlight. a dry golden fog over an undulating road, settling slowly on dark green satin corn leaves. The clatter of flying gravel and rattle thunk of a pickup drifting back in fragments as each receding hill is topped. Once red painted, a barn, holes patched by metal signs, shimmers in the heat. In its shade, horse statues stand, moving only to acknowledge persistent flies. Flashing in the bright sun, fat black and yellow bumblebees blunder among hollyhocks as sulfur yellow butterflies play tag around purple clover blossoms. Giant cotton boll cumulus feed on heated air, growing, occluding the blue afternoon sky, gathering strength for the evening's electrical show. Red-winged blackbirds scold from cattails. Morning doves answer back from telephone wires. The sun, now a great glowing pumpkin, flashes, pink, red, and gold beacons against towering cloud castles and is swallowed by a purple horizon. Warm breezes stir weeping willows, bring a hint of mist from the river. Heat lightning flickers behind velvet cloud curtains. A distant dog barks across the darkness of a dew-damp field, twinkling with a galaxy of living stars. The twanging snap of a closing screen door answers. A distant train's lonely call and rush, nearly lost in a concerto andante as cricket flutes, cicada traps, and bullfrog timpani play for a golden rising moon.
That was really nice. Gonna pause for just 1 second to let someone in. And while Sean takes a seat, you mentioned the red-winged blackbird. I just love them. And I've been paying a lot of attention to our bird feeders here in Pennsylvania. Coming from Indiana, I saw red-winged blackbirds every day. Never seen one in Pennsylvania. And yesterday there were a pair that came to my bird feeder, and I was thrilled about that. It's such a little simple thing sometimes make you so happy.
That's a touch of home.
Yeah, little visitor makes me happy. Hi, Sean. Thanks for coming. Let you get seated in, and then yeah, I saw the weirdest thing. I saw the weirdest thing a couple of days ago. It's more like a week ago. At my bird feeder, I saw a sparrow with a penny on its back. Isn't that strange? It was this really shiny penny, and it was stuck to its back, and he's hopping around, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I want to know the story. How did that happen? Who put the penny on your back? How did It just like there's a poem in there, but nobody would believe it because it's just one of those completely random things in life that makes no sense. Oh, so weird. I must have told a dozen people that story already because I was so like, wow, you wouldn't believe this. It's really something. Gerald, did you have another one?
Yeah, I have a short one if we have time. It's another seasonal poem. It's titled Summer Storms. In a darker shade of night, sighing screens announce storm arrival. Timid first raindrops, crescendo to lightning shattered cataract intensity. Wall shadows strobe writhe, thunder blasts shake our bed. Seeking shelter against me, your lips find mine. Another tempest begins.
Thank you for that. All right. Michael Watterson, sorry.
Hey, thank you, Glenn. Thanks, everybody. Couple of poems today. This one is just came out in the July issue of Red Fez online publication. It's called After Dining at the Golden Dragon. It arrives with a check for a Kung Pao chicken dinner, my morsel of Confucian wisdom baked inside a sugar shell. Plucking a jade green sliver from the crumbled cookie, I read, imagination rules the world. recited to companions, digested with smiles and nods. Such pearls are usually then discarded with dirty dishes. But I pocket this one, pay up, step out into an ordinary evening that presents me with a pale, almost devoured moon. Reaching out, I break open the low-hung crescent, unfold another fortune. Here be dragons. And that's all, folks.
Thank you for that. Does anybody remember when fortune cookies had fortunes in them? Now they just say nice things, like, but they used to be like, you're going to, money's coming your way or something like that. Yeah, they don't do that anymore.
So fortune, it was inspired. That actually, since we're on the theme of Billy Collins, that was actually inspired by a Billy Collins poem about a fortune in a Chinese restaurant, about dining in a Chinese restaurant, and the fortune. The title escapes me at the moment, but the second one is also on the Red Fez site. It's called, and it also has a circus theme. 3 ring, 3 a.m. Darkness shines a spotlight on fear after grotesque fear climbing from my clown car brain. I lie alone with lying thoughts under a balding big top where I'm ringmaster, peanut vendor, roustabout and rube, a lion tamer caged with a snarling heart, the sucker reborn every minute. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children always aging, step right up for the freak show, life. Direct your guilty gaze to death-defying, trapeze-flying, soul-searching, high-wire regret without a net that builds to a thrilling finale, a head-first fall from grace. Bundled nerves jump through hoops of fire until gray dawn sweeps up behind the elephants in the room. The circus folds its tent, boards the last thought train out of my head as I sleepwalk through the day. For all you insomniacs out there.
Thank you for that. Okay, so we're gonna do just the schedule here is 3 more, I think. Carol Mertz, Shasta Hatter, and Sean O'Connor. And if you haven't read yet, and you're not one of those 3 poets, send me a quick note and let me know that. Okay, Carol.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. Thank you again, Glenn, for having us read. I'm reading from Parma, Ohio, and I just finished reading Swan's Way, and it's very encouraging to feel that I can be a little wordy if I want to after reading him. I may have read this previously. It's Leafy Slim Threads Caught. And I wrote it about 4 years ago when I was very worried about losing my memory. Without that, what would I do? I wrote it in 3 segments. So I'll call out the different numbers. 1, birds flew in across the hearthstone, out again across the fields. Buds of memory lapped at her feet, stealing away molested and unprotected thought. How to snare and nurture the fleeting. 2, heart and hands ached for the recall, reaching out to no avail, clutching pale slabs of empty air. Yours for the taking, winged creatures taunted and scoffed. Swoosh, she swiped at the thieves, murderous in her rancor, wiped the blood on her sleeve. 3, where will you go with your unprotected mind? With whom share the minuscules you've known? Certainties, those rarities often rendered as lost and beyond recall. Yet that single certainty, that singular small thing to which you cling will not change, It lingers as sure as a song. If you allow, I'll read a short one, A Breezy Cinquain. If I knew birds beneath the tree out front, my mind soon sees boats sailing aloft a green breeze. These I see as freedom to explore unknown sights, their histories revealing new delights. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Shasta.
Hi.
You ever have people tease you when you were little because of you want to pop, I want to Shasta.
Well, mostly they teach me about the mountain.
The mountain, yeah,
The
Mount
mountain,
Shasta.
yeah.
Well,
But yeah,
I
I
think
was the
I
rest
love
of us, you know.
I love your name. I just I remember how cool it is. It just looks good even in the table of contents and stuff. That's good.
That's cool. Okay, so today I have two love poems. Both of them are tonkas. A tonka, I'm sure most of you know, is a Japanese short form. If it's in its traditional format, it's 57577. And both of these were published by Tonka Journal when it was up and running. I was really sad when Tonka Journal went away.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, anyway, so the first one is 18 years have passed. An old man stands at my door. Your smile melts the years, pulling me into your arms where we are lovers once more.
That's nice.
Thank you. And the next one, a friend called this the best erotic use of the night sky he's ever seen, but it's okay, it's PG. So you walk towards me. Night surrounds this reunion. Moonlight graces your skin. Your starlight extends to me. Your touch in my galaxy. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really nice. Such a tender poem. I mean, you can really go back and read it and get so much more. It's really, really well done. Okay, Sean.
Hi, sorry I couldn't make it earlier, Glenn. Thank you for having me so late.
Well, you kind of missed my speech earlier, but I said I really appreciate it when people come. If they can't come right away and you come later, I just want to know. I want you to know you're so welcome. I want you to come. If you can't come on time, that's okay.
Yeah, I was just sorry I missed the readings, so thank you very much. This is a high one that's an ekphrastic response to a film documentary made about the end of the Second World War and the aftermath just after the war ended and the horrors that continued afterwards. So I'll read it. It's called Last Post. Over a crowd, the shadows of swallows swoop and swerve. Shooting black and white from a fixed position, the crowd forefront and center frame, the platform with the short drop hanging post. An official reads out the death sentence. The handcuffed prisoner, in a suit with no tie, is escorted to the post by two guards. He is lifted onto a stool. The executioner places the rope under his chin, checks it is well placed, then pats the man on the cheek. The prisoner's eyes dart about as if searching for something, for someone. No one speaks. The stool is pulled away and the man drops just a few inches until the rope presses his neck. The hangman pinches the man's nose and whispers in his ear. It looks like he is telling the man to relax, that it's nearly over. It looks like he's reassuring the dying man that he cares for him. As the collaborator struggles, the crowd, under arcs of swallows, wait silently. His twitching body, from the ends of his trousers, drops of urine. Thank you.
Oh, that's so sad. That's rough. Got another one for us?
If it's okay, something slightly different. This is called Waiting Day, another high one. October twilight on my concrete balcony, a sudden chill wind. It's one of me worst waiting days. For dinner, 2 leftover spuds mashed into cup of soup, better than I expected. But now this guest I didn't expect. All I have is a few tea bags, OXO cubes and 2 smokes, and I don't sign on till 11 till tomorrow. I go next door and tell Noreen about it being my waiting day, and she comes up trumps, a baby carton of milk her daughter brought back from school, 4 cuts of batch and 2 silk cuts. Take the filters off them and you'll be grand, she says. Then she says, hang on. And she comes back out with a tin of Heinz beans, saying she got a tray of them above in Musgraves and she's getting sick of them already. Well, that's me tea and me breakfast sorted, Noreen. You're a star. Me guest is in bad shape under the little blanket, flaked out, barely moves when I give it a bit of bread, crumbled. I light up one of Noreen's and wait to see if things pick up, but they don't. Hunter's moon, a saucer of milk for a dying bird. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much,
I do have a couple of announcements if you guys want to stick around for a minute. I'm going to stop the recording. I just want to remind people it's not set in stone that it's the last Saturday of each month at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Just happens to be what's worked with my schedule, but please do check your invitations in the future, just so you know. That was the Prolific Press poetry reading. Also, I know some people are going to watch this on Facebook. I just want people to know, because I always get a few emails, if you've gotten this far along, these readings are by invitation to people that we've published in the past. It's not a open to the public situation. So as much as I appreciate people asking if they can get in, we do invite all of these poets. These are published poets, and that's why the work is so darned good. So let me just pause this and then just a couple of things.